what are the common mistakes that you see retail investors make, when they are choosing or even holding, because both are very two different processes. Maybe we can start with choosing a mutual fund and then holding that portfolio. What are the mistakes that you see retail investors making, and then we can get to how to correct that behavior.
See, the first mistake is, this is the most common mistake. They have a very bad habit of seeing the rear mirror. पीछे देख के डिसीजन लेना बहुत उनको इजी लगता है, राइट? सो whether it is investing into bitcoins, which had happened crazily at one point of time. Why? Because they saw that things were so good in the past and I have missed something and I want to try. Whether at some point of time it is investing into real estate, saying that I have passed the time and things have grown very big, now I have to plunge. Or even in mutual funds, they see that before selecting as to where my money should go into, they first see return past mein kya aaya hai, right? And if they see the returns to be very good in the past, they plunge. If they see returns to be very bad in the past, they don't plunge or they move away. So what we see that most of the investors' money is going into mid caps and small caps, So that recency biasness that we term as in the behavioral term, it is called recency biasness. That we get attracted to something which has performed very well recently, and we want to be there, because they end into this destructive behavior. So one mistake, if I want to make, don't have those recency biasness. Be out of that recency biasness and follow the simple rule of asset allocation, coming to your goals, understanding what I need to save. इतनी basic चीजें आप करोगे, you are 100% sure that you are going to create your wealth, right?
Sure. I want to ask you one thing now, Misbah, which is kind of an answer to the question that you just did. How do we choose a mutual fund then? Right? There are, I don't know, thousands of schemes out there. And
Yeah,
here we are, sitting in the last week of August, last 6 months, mid cap and small cap, like you just said. They've just
right.
raced ahead. So if a person does not look at performance, then what other criteria is there for someone who's listening to this episode? Let's just say he's starting an SIP today. He's got, I don't know, maybe 5,000 or 10,000 in his hand and wants to set up 2 or 3 SIPs. What should be his approach?
The first thing I will do is that go to a distributor, right?
Sure. Okay.
That is the first most important thing, right? Second, follow his advice or follow what he says, right? Don't try to apply too much of your mind, otherwise you will never succeed. So you find a person whom you feel, as I said, whom you can trust, right? Who talks rightly, who can be with you for a long period of time. So that is the second thing, right?
Yeah.
On the third front, Anupam, I will tell that in my life, as what we have understood, fund selection is no way important, right?
Very interesting.
95% of your long-term returns, or probably more than that, is going to be determined on the asset allocation that you follow or choose. Fund selection is not going to make any difference, right? And nobody in the world knows that which fund is going to be the performer in the next 20 years, right? So they have to understand is that in the investment journey, my behavior, my asset allocation are far more important, or in fact, the most important than selecting the funds, right? So having said that, when it comes to investment and when you have money to invest, the best thing is that you diversify, because that is the only thing that you know or we understand as a distributor. So what I will do is that as a distributor is to give him a bouquet of funds, say 5 or 6 bouquet of fund, which are with different fund managers, of course.
Yes.
Very obviously, I will choose different fund managers for him. I will choose fund managers whom we believe that, as in a case of a distributor, we believe that these fund managers are into this business for very long term, because that's again very
Correct.
important, that the focus of that fund managers should be for long term. So we
Yeah.
should be convinced as a distributor, we actually, which we are into the field, we talk to a lot of fund managers and do this. So nothing that we are sure about that they are going to be the best, but at least
Hmm.
we are convinced that the fund managers are doing good job, are having processes, they are consistent in their processes, right? And with that conviction, we generally select 6 or 7 fund houses, which we typically give to our investors. Generally, what we tell our investors is that don't be very much into small cap, mid caps. Always be into flexi caps, multi caps, right? Where you are given enough power to a fund manager to decide which stocks should be there in the portfolios. So larger component of the portfolio should be into those flexi caps, multi caps kind of a category,
Yeah.
and diversify across 5 to 6 good fund managers which you feel they are right people, where we can give money for a fairly long period of time and stick on to them, right? Unless and until we feel that there is something very wrong with that fund house, right, which has gone haywire, right? Unless and until we don't see that, we fairly tell our investor to be there for long term, as our belief is that fund selection is not very important in anybody's life, right? The most important thing is the right asset allocation and the behavior that they follow over the next 15, 20 years. These are the two things which is going to determine the return an investor makes and the wealth an investor creates in the long term, and not at all the fund that he has selected. Every fund in the long term, there is a reversion of mean that we always say, right? कोई ऊपर जाएगा, कोई आज नीचे रहेगा, but over the long period of time, kahin na kahin that difference is not going to be very large if the fund houses are good and very focused onto their business.
IVM